Welcome to today's webinar, Maximizing Your Global Emory Network, sponsored by the Emory Alumni Association and the Goizueta Business School. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. My name is Sarah Rawls, Director of Alumni Career Services, and I'm thrilled today to be here with David Nour, 2000 graduate of the Evening MBA program. And David is in Atlanta today working out of his office, but typically he's all over the world. So we're very glad he made time for this. And it is the second webinar in a three-part series. So in case you missed it, David's first webinar happened last month on the future of work. And we have that housed on the Emory University YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. And the next webinar and final installment in his series will take place on July 11th. And I'm sorry about that, actually June 14th, and he will address innovation, cultural transformation, and the power of co-creation. So today's webinar will be recorded, so if you need to step out, know that you will receive a follow-up email with the recording of David's first two webinars and information to sign up for his third webinar. Thank you to those of you who sent in questions in advance. We will leave plenty of time for Q&A with David at the end of the presentation, so please type in additional questions in the question area of the GoToWebinar control panel so that we can maximize our time with him today. Note that we will not be sending out any handouts afterwards, but again, you can review everything on the webinar archive. And I'm going to say a bit more about David, but he is also going to introduce himself in a moment. In case you haven't checked out his website, David Nour is a growth strategist, thought leader, and global keynote speaker on relationship economics, the concept of the quantifiable value of business relationships. He's CEO of the Nour Group, Inc., a consulting firm that advises top global leaders and boards of corporations, associations, and academic forums on disruptive innovations to fuel their growth. And we are very lucky now to have David as an adjunct professor at the Goizueta Business School. So I'll now turn it over to you, David, to tell us a bit more about your background.
Wow, Sarah, Danielle, all the great folks back at Emory, thank you. Hey, everybody, good to see you. And this is what I look like. This is when I'm not on the road, when I'm not. Today's a travel day. So right after this webinar, I'm going to get back on the road. But thanks for taking the time to join us. I hope you can also see my screen. A couple quick housekeeping notes. I'm very active on social. So if you just want to use my ID, usually is just my name, @DavidNour. And I came up with the hashtag of Emory Proud. I think beyond the education that most of us got, it's just a real sense of pride of being associated with such a great school. So if you could also use the same hashtag, Emory Proud, and let's continue this conversation long after this session. So very quickly about my background, I'm originally from Iran. I came to the US in 1981 with a suitcase, $100, didn't know anybody, didn't speak a word of English. I came to Atlanta to go to school here. My parents are both middle-class teachers. They still actually live back in Iran. Try to Skype with them on a weekly basis. We traveled a lot as I was a kid, so I saw great value in very diverse lenses, perspectives, cultures. And it was just something that's was introduced early in my life that I'm now trying to pass on to my kids. I do live in Atlanta. I jokingly tell people I live at 30,000 feet because I was on the road over 200 days last year. And of course, for those of you who are in Atlanta, been to Atlanta, you'll be delighted to hear we survived the blizzard of 2018. My wife, you'll see in a second, is from upstate New York, and she laughs at the fact that we shut everything down when even the threat of snow comes around this place. The other thing that since we're already well on our way to 90-degree plus weather, I wanted you to see the 20 seasons we have in the South. And if you glance through that, you'll see a summer and even more summer. I love the fact that winter comes around and Christmas, and then we have maybe one more summer. So there's no shortage of summers in Atlanta. About my work, I've spent the last really 2 decades focused on business relationships. So when I talk about how to proactively build and nurture a global Emory network, it isn't some book report. This is kind of what I do. This is what I kind of pride myself in really being a student of. I spent a lot of time working with global clients on driving their profitable growth, innovation, change management. I speak at a lot of events, company meetings, association meetings, academic forums. More and more companies are bringing in exec ed for custom programs, and I've been blessed to be able to participate with Emory and others in those things. I do a lot of coaching. As I'm sure you've seen, the higher you go in the organization, the lonelier the job gets. So to have a sounding board and somebody that, I'm not there for a job, and I can be real candid about why are we doing this, kind of goes a long way. I've recently joined a private equity firm as a partner, and our board nav service helps executives become better board candidates. Co-Create is my most recent book. It is book number 10 since 2008. And I'm looking at a board in front of me. I've got another 6 or 7 in my head in various research and development phases. On a completely personal level, I have a young family. I have a incoming junior in high school. My daughter is 16. She's thinking about medicine, so I'll be working till I'm 90. I want you to know that. And I have a 14-year-old son who'll be an incoming freshman. The ridiculous thing is they're both better skiers than their old man this year, and I strenuously object to that notion, but they're great kids, and they have an awesome mom. I also have 2 crazy dogs. Surprised you haven't seen them or heard from them so far. They're my VPs of operations. I want you to know, a Siberian Husky and a Bernese Mountain Dog Australian Shepherd mix. I didn't grow up with dogs, and it's amazing how they become a big part of your life. I'm an old Eagle Scout. My son's working on his Eagle Scout, so scouting is real important to our family. And this is what I do for fun. My wife and kids bought me a scooter for Father's Day 5 years ago, and they've regretted it since, because now I've been to 12 different schools. I put the earplugs in, the helmet on, and that's my quiet time. Nobody's tugging at you, nobody's texting, nobody's calling, and it's really my time to think. If that scares you, here's a more genteel version. So I don't know what you do to kind of get away from the gerbil wheel we feel like we're all on. But I don't know anybody that can burn the candle at both ends. And when it comes to networks and relationships, you can't be at your best if you don't make some time for you. So whether you jog or you do yoga or you play golf or whatever it is, you have to make time to get away from kind of the day-to-day hustle. I call it a digital detox, because who we are isn't necessarily just what we do. And I think that's an important point that a lot of people kind of lose sight of. So I've told you a little about me. I'm trying out this new kind of audience polling tool. And it's a lot more fun if you play along. And we've got a great turnout. So I want you to go to menti.com. I'm doing the same. Go to menti.com and type in that code for me, 417046. Another reason for those who watch this later, you should come to the live events. And go ahead and submit, and you'll start to see a couple questions. So first one I'm asking is your role. What is your role? And just go ahead and type in ideally just type it in, consultant. There you go. There we go. So what's your role? Give me an idea of, I love it. People are playing PR manager. Very cool. Engineer. Nice. Look, I love this. Look at the variety. Vice president. Great. All right, let's see. Associate, realtor, PR manager. Look at this. How cool. Treasurer, trustee. Very nice. Unemployed CFO. We'll hug later. That's okay. It's okay. Director. Yeah, just give me some ideas of, and obviously the more prominent ones are going to come up in the middle, right? So this is financial advisor. Very cool. Sales, marketing, analytics. All right, great. I'm always mesmerized by the variety of folks that show up at this type of event. Okay, so next one. How old are you? Let's get a sense for, and this is as much of a mindset than actual age, but look at this. Nice. Let's see. How old are you? Again, the more prominent numbers will jump out and you'll see the bigger numbers. I love it. We got millennials, we've got X, we've got boomers, we've got, if somebody types in 104, I'm going to be shocked, right? So how old are you? Just get a sense for that, right? That would be great. One couple more minutes to other people jumping in. It's a lot more fun if you play along. All right. So let's go to another one. Help me understand, when I say this idea of you building a global network, what are the biggest barriers? You'll see it down on your list, and I want you to pick the top 3. Are you too busy or distracted? Is it a lack of a consistent process? Is it, You have a scattered network. You know a lot of people, but you don't necessarily think of them or keep up with them. Lack of motivation. Listen, I don't really have a reason to do it. Lack of the right relationship building skills is one of the things I'm frustrated with, because we also assume that people have them, and then haven't seen the value from past efforts, right? I've networked a lot. I have a lot of business cards, but I don't see my life getting any better because of it. So just um, go ahead and let's see. Let's grab a couple different and just hit submit at the bottom. And this is always fascinating to me to see again, as diverse of a group that we have on this call. Look at that, 24% too busy, 22 lack of consistent process, right? 21 lack of the right relationship building skills. That's fantastic. It's good to know. Scattered network. We all know a lot of people, right? So wait a few more seconds. If anybody else wants to jump in, I want to make sure your vote gets counted. Okay, so and I'll keep that up there. So if you want to jump in, again, just go to menti.com, use that code, and jump in and join us with this. This is great. This is so we'll talk about too busy. Let me just plant a seed with you. When I hear somebody say I'm too busy, you know what I hear? It's not important enough. Because I don't know about you, my wife says I've got to be at the kids' school. It goes on my calendar and I'm there. So we make time for things that are important. So I'm too busy. It just says that that's not a priority. And it's not a judgment call. All I'm asking you to do is just think about that, of the fact that we make time for things that are important, that we believe are really good for our present as well as what we're trying to get to. In terms of a lacking consistent process, I'm glad you're here, because I'm going to show you that. Scattered network, yeah, we're all very good at collecting business cards. I'm not sure, or contacts. I'm not sure we're all that very good at nurturing them. And listen, we're all guilty. I don't know about you, but have you ever had a stack of business cards on your desk that says, they just kind of call me, follow up? You met these great people at an event and you just haven't had the time, right, to follow up. And that happens to all of us. And then a week later you feel bad, and I'm not sure they're going to remember me. And we come up with all kinds of excuses and reasons. I want to give you some specific ideas today to hopefully help you elevate kind of what you do and how you do in that area. Lack of the right relationship building skills, we'll certainly talk about that. Haven't seen value. Yeah, that's also a big one that unfortunately a lot of people experience, because they keep networking and they don't have much to show for it. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for jumping in. So in terms of the agenda, building a phenomenal global network starts with you putting your best foot forward. And I'm going to talk about this day and age. There's absolutely no excuse for you not having a proactive digital presence. It's going to be very difficult for us. And again, because we're all so busy, it's becoming more and more difficult to connect live. So having a digital presence, in essence, is your personal brand. It's your storefront when you're not there. So it's really critical. And we're going to talk a lot about you putting your best foot forward. Optimizing your collaborative approach. And I love and thank you for those of you who did submit questions in advance. I'll look through them. A lot of people approach this in a just not the best way. So I want to give you some tips and techniques on the best way to reach out and say, looked at your profile and studied your site or studied your kind of updates, and here's how I think we could be an asset to each other. Let me know your thoughts, right? The thing I want you to think about, for those of you who are married or have a significant other, did you propose to your significant other on the first date? Well, most of us probably not, right? Yet how often do you kind of get messages from people when in their first touch they want something? In essence, they have their hand out. And I'm like, well, sure, you can try that, but would it be more productive if you started by giving a hand, if you added value to someone before you start asking for something in return, right? So we'll talk about that. And then I'm a huge believer of add value every time. If you add value with every interaction, I love, I'm a Goizueta grad, and I love Ben Kaczynski's line, hear me now, believe me later. If you approach every interaction with value add, those who get it will seek you out, will want more, will want to interact with you, will want to participate in your research project or your paper or your whatever it is you're doing. So I'm a big believer of with every interaction, and if you don't hear anything else from me today, you need to hear this. With every interaction, you have an opportunity to enhance that relationship, elevate it, or dilute it. With every interaction, are you adding value? Are you enhancing that, or are you diluting it? So that's the agenda for today. And as Sarah mentioned, please use the question section on the right-hand side of your GoToWebinar control panel, and I make sure I pause if you want to jump into anything specific as we go. So this is one of my favorite books. What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith. Marshall is an executive coach to the Fortune 100 CEOs. I've read this book 3 times, and every time something else jumps out at me. My favorite is chapter 4, where there's 20 specific behaviors that are keeping you from reaching new heights. And in celebration to honor Marshall and that approach, I've also come up with 20 really bad relationship habits that I continue to see people practice. I told you one of them already. First time we meet, hey, I want this, right? I get it. I get that you want or need something, but is that really the best approach in our first interaction, right? So if you haven't had a chance to pick up this book, fantastic book. I've no financial interest in this. I'm an avid reader, and this book has made a big impact in kind of how I think and how I approach it. The other reason that I wanted to share this with you is I have some very personal experiences in leveraging my Emory network that I think you could benefit from. So you heard one of the things I do is I speak globally. I literally got on LinkedIn. This is last fall, and I typed in really excited about returning to Dubai to speak at this knowledge summit. So the Sheikh was there, and I took a colleague with me, and on the stage, as I'm delivering a keynote, he's in real time visually illustrating some of the key ideas. And an Emory Gosweda alum who had heard me speak at Gosweda some 10 years ago reaches back out. Great to hear you're coming to Dubai. Would love to see you for a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, right? So make it fast forward. Not only Marwa and I met, but we had a great visit. She came to the event, heard me speak. Now we're working together, and I'm helping my U.S. clients through her great work have a presence there. And she's, again, she's invited me back to now help some of her clients that are in that Middle East and North Africa region. I've done the same thing in South Africa. I've done the same thing in China. I've done the same thing in Istanbul. I've done the same thing in other parts of the world that I travel to. And it starts with, hey, really excited about, or I'm headed to, or right. And it's just leveraging this activating this army that you're going to see more of in a second that unfortunately not enough people do. So in terms of putting your best foot forward, I want to focus on 3 specific areas, right? First and foremost is your LinkedIn profile. As I said, in 2018, there's absolutely no excuse for you not having a robust LinkedIn profile. So I'll toggle over there in a second, but there's 5 questions I want to ask you about your LinkedIn profile. Number one is a visual. We live in a visual society, right? We react to a visual, and it's a lot more interesting than a whole bunch of text, right? Is it engaging? Is it interesting? Is it value based? Are you, unfortunately, some people use it as their personal billboard. Look what a great job I'm doing. Have you seen what a great job I'm doing? I'm doing a great job. And that just kind of gets boring pretty quickly. So are you adding value? Are you engaging? Are you bringing unique content as well as redistributing interesting things from others? And then is it consistently updated? I met an executive, a little older, and who said, yeah, I was on LinkedIn like 6 months ago. I'm having an out of body experience because I'm on LinkedIn several times a day. And, for most of us, we have dead time throughout the day. And, while I'm waiting in the lobby or it's a great way to just get on and really keep up with the activities that are happening. So let me toggle over to LinkedIn, and I'm going to show you a couple of things, right? So first and foremost is really your profile. And if I go over there, So most of you, and let me make this screen a little bit bigger. There you go, so you can see. So most of you know that, and based on whatever LinkedIn service you're using, it might be a little different. But first and foremost, please get an updated headshot. Right? You meet some people, and you can see that picture was taken in 1972. Right? Please go to Target, go to Walmart, go find a professional photographer. I think that the latest iPhone, has a portrait functionality that looks gorgeous. But get a professional headshot because it just, again, you have a brand and you want to make sure it's as polished as possible. Up here, this banner, right? Ideally, it's got something to do with what you're doing. Now, again, Co-Create is my latest book, so that's the one I've chosen. But we're also updating this in the next couple of weeks. Some people, unfortunately, under their title, under their name, put their existing title. Well, guess what? I can see that in your job or in your experience down here. It's a missed opportunity to not brand yourself in terms of, by the way, every one of these things are searchable. So what do you want to be known for, right? I like to think I'm a thinker, I'm an advisor, I'm a speaker, I'm an author, right? But I contribute to Forbes on this future of work. And I'm also a venture partner in a private equity firm. So um, start thinking about some brand attributes that you want to be known for, because again, these are all searchable. You can see the latest LinkedIn layout. It puts your kind of immediate role and your education and your contact stuff right here on the right below this summary is really important, and not enough people pay attention to this. I still go to some people's LinkedIn profiles and there's nothing here. So again, the biggest advice I have for you is invest a little bit of time and effort to create a compelling summary, right? Clients call me when they want to leverage their relationships. Why do you want people to work with you? Why do you want people to connect with you? So spend a little bit of time building out this summary. The next one is visual, right? So there's all kinds of stats that says if you put a picture, if you put a video, if you put things that are a little more engaging, they're much more likely to get clicked on. So if you've ever been interviewed, if you've written anything, start to use visual references to your brand. This is really important, and again, it's because one of the first places people are going to go. So spending some time on your summary, adding some visual engagement, visual cues goes a long way. The other one is really your activity. So as I scroll down the profile, your activity. Look at this. I have about over 10,000 followers that kind of constantly have asked to, they read my stuff. They follow me and they read my stuff. And, so I put on articles. I add, and if you go click on this, see all the articles, you'll see um, people, click on different, I'm now doing video newsletters this year. So there's a handful of those, 66 clicks on this coaching article. Here's 125 on, I wrote a Forbes article on why leaders don't understand that employee engagement drives profitable growth, right? By the way, I'm going to tell you what a mentor told me, which is stick to your knitting. If I start posting stuff about cooking, it's going to confuse people, because my favorite thing to make is a reservation, right? And you're going to confuse your brand. So what do you want to be known for? And as such, the things you hopefully share, the things that you post, the things that you become advocates of has some relevance to what is it that you do, versus just here's, do I like cooking? Yes. Do I eat? Yes. Do I have any business talking about cooking? No. So stick to your knitting, stick to what is it that you do really well. So your activity, your articles, things you post. Look at this one, mapping the next 5 years of your career, 526 clicks. So, and I'm convinced people don't click on things if they're bored. Something about a title or image, and I don't believe in clickbait, right? When you click on something and it's not what you thought. So the stuff I create, I think people click on because it grabs their attention, which, by the way, should be insightful to you in what does your audience, what do they want to know more from you? What are they more interested in? So I look at this periodically, not just clicks, but also likes and shares, and it drives what I want to put out there more often, because that's what my audience kind of cares about. So you should not just post it and, hey, that's great, but really go back and look at what people are clicking on. So, and then obviously, if you, as I continue to scroll down, let me go back to my profile. Hang on. Let me go back to my profile, and you can see, uh, imagine I'm going back to my profile. In your experience, right? Also, really important to go back. And by the way, again, tip. You heard that I'm originally not from the U.S., so English is my second language. I use Grammarly. It's a fantastic tool that allows you to really edit and clean up passive voice and grammatical errors. And again, it's 2018. And if you want to be taken seriously, you need to elevate your language. And I learned, and I'm sharing with you what I've learned from mentors over the years. Language is incredibly powerful and it's incredibly valuable, especially if you're not there to engage them in person. You're asking them to make a decision to whether connect with you or not based on just this profile. So I use Grammarly. It's a great tool. It allows me to, is it, am I perfect? No, I still send out newsletters with typos and stuff in it. But again, it's about progress, not perfection. And Grammarly is just a tool that I use with stuff I write, the articles that I put out there, and so on and so forth. So go back and spend some time on your profile. Obviously, the other thing is really your education. The other opportunity is um, really spending some time. Here we go. So if I go back to my full profile, if I scroll down, it's your experience, right? Put the most recent thing you've done. And by the way, most people don't want you to go back. For those that are more vintage or seasoned on this call, did you like how I put that? You don't need to go back to 1972, right? So I'm interested in what have you done more recently. So there's my profile, and there's a couple of things I do, and I'm proud to come back to Emory and teach in the exec ed program. And by the way, education, right? This is really important. The other thing that I actually like on here is if you've been to an executive education program, if you've been to some sort of a unique certification that sets you apart. Don't put every little thing on there, but this is about credibility. This is about repute. So go ahead and make sure these things are updated, right? Volunteer. I was on the board of the Association for Corporate Growth. Um, Skills and endorsement is the next section. That's again really important. And then and again, unfortunately, this is I think LinkedIn is missing an opportunity here because yeah, they may have seen you work in some capacity, but were they really intimately involved? What I actually read more of are the recommendation sections. And you heard earlier that I speak 50, 60 times a year. What you don't know is, am I any good? Do I deliver any value? Or how well do I think of a spectrum? How well do I do what I do? And this is your chance with recommendations to shine. This is your chance for others to really talk about you. Now, I know a lot of you on this session were raised to be modest, right? And be humble and don't be braggadocious, and all that's great. Here's just one thing I want you to hear. Again, I'm a big believer that we're products of the advice we take. And one of my mentors drove into me, if you don't toot your own horn, there's no music. So if you're out there doing good work, and this is what you're looking at as an example of a couple of different clients that have brought me in to speak to their groups, often multiple times, and you can read the level of due diligence that I do, or my content is fresh. I'm not talking about something I did 10 years ago, maybe because I get bored. So if you're out there doing, and that's a big if, and you got to start with that as the foundation. If you're out there doing some really good work, and you're a really well kept secret, you're not helping yourself, and it doesn't help you build a global network if you don't have other people talking about you and the value add that you bring to them. So you can see 53 recommendations received. Here's a couple from again recent clients. The last part is any kind of publications, language. If you speak another language, again, that's the place to share it. Why not? Because I'm trying to tell you, people get on and search. Certification. I'm on the board of two tech companies, and as such, I'm active in the National Association of Corporate Directors. These are all board members. They have a certification process called the Governance Fellow. It's an investment of time and effort, and you learn a lot about board governance. Why not put it on there? So this is a good opportunity to do that. And then at the very bottom of the page, your interest, right? So what are you interested in? what do you want to highlight to others? Again, I went through that to show you that your LinkedIn profile is really important in you putting on a great, again, creating that great presence online. um, your activities, your posts, be careful what you like, what you comment. You remember the comment that at every interaction you can enhance or dilute your credibility, your relationships. If you wanna like that dancing cat or the goofy videos, you know what? Do that on Facebook. Do that somewhere else. LinkedIn unequivocally has to remain a professional social network. So the things you like, other people will see. The things you comment on, the other people will see. The things that you just shared, obviously they're going to see it. So just take caution. And this is more for my friends in their 20s and maybe even some 30s. Just think twice about, do I really like that? Do I really want everybody else to see that? And just use some discretion, I guess is the best way to describe that. Um, so a couple of other things that are really important is there's an Emory alumni network group on LinkedIn. And if you don't belong, look at this. This is I was there earlier, and I was blown away by this. This is wait a minute, I'll get there. I'll get there. Hang on. My Emory Global, I may have closed it, but it is really cool. Hold on, here it is. Bingo. So it's just and you can see the URL, linkedin.com school Emory-University/alumni. But come in here, look at this, 67,000 alums. It's amazing to me how many people, A, don't know that, B, they don't leverage it. Where do they live, right? 62 of them, 62,000 live in the US, 23 obviously greater Atlanta area. Where do they work? There's a whole bunch of people that work at Emory. What do they do? Business development, there's education, healthcare. You can also see, look at this. Look at the data that's available to you in terms of where these people are. And by the way, right? Now you've got an opportunity to connect with them. Now, can I please ask you a favor? Do not go down this list and click on everybody you see. That you're diluting your credibility. Look through the profiles. I don't know Ron, but I'm really intrigued by Ron. So I can click on his profile. Okay, Chief Financial Officer, Strategic Development at Servet. Okay, I don't know, Great Atlanta. Looks pleasant, looks like a nice guy. By the way, Ron, if you're watching this, if you're live or you're watching this, I want $5 for this plug. Man, looks like a nice guy. I scroll down, good, credible background, CFO. Here's another company. Now, I don't know as much about Servento, so I can click on that, learn a little about potentially the company or look them up. But my point is, do a little bit of, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. Do a little of homework before you just click on this connect, because you should be as selfish about who you connect with as they're going to be in, is this person relevant? Is this person quality? Is this person somebody I want to connect with? So take some time, go through here, look through this. The other thing that's really cool is I think the different schools, I don't know about medical or law school, but I know Gozueta also has a LinkedIn group. This is, again, becomes even that much more relevant because I'm an Emory alum from the mothership, but really my relevance is going to be much more to the Gozueta Business School, right? So same thing. Look at what these people do, where they are. Are they interesting? What are they doing? Here's an assistant professor at Kennesaw. That's interesting. I wonder what Lynn's up to. And when you connect with people, the other thing I want you to think about is give them a reason. I just want to connect. That's great, but would you just go up to somebody just off the street? Can I just go out in the street? Hey, I'd like to connect with you. No, we don't do that in the real world. So give them a reason. Hey, listen, Kevin, I read about your background. It sounds fascinating. Create a hook, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But you got to give people a reason to want to connect with you. So there's the Emory one, there's the Gozueta one. So spend a little bit of time and effort there. Okay, switching gears. The Alumni Association actually has a directory, and I think Sarah and these guys can send you links. I went to Danielle and I said, help me. I know we have them. I don't know where they are. So there's links in here. You've got to update your profile. This is where people go to look. So there's the Alumni Association. There's also affinity groups. Again, most of you may not know there's executive women of Gozweta, there's Emory entrepreneurs, there's, I know for Gozweta specifically, there's alumni in real estate. So you've got to give them some explanation, some reason, some interest in what are you interested in. And you can see there's an email to Office of Development Alumni Relations right on that page. Hey, I'd love to learn more about the Emory Entrepreneurs Network. When do they meet? And there's also links, right? When do they meet? Where do they meet? How often do they meet? Kind of where's the next event? A lot of times they're updating stuff here. The other thing you have to do, and again, we're all busy. I know for a fact that they send a lot. Now, my complaint, and this is the candor that these folks need to hear from you, some of it is just not relevant to me. Again, I'm on the road ton. I went to the executive program. A lot of the BBA stuff is just not relevant to me. So yeah, I can delete. And I think they're trying to do a better job in segmenting the alums on what you're interested in, but you got to give them some ideas, right? You also have to reply in a positive, respectful, constructive way of, hey, here's just an idea that might be relevant to you, or here's somebody else. I also, I get alumni stuff from, or I get school stuff from other schools, and I've often forwarded that look, this 3-minute video was much more valuable to me than pages and pages of text. And they may not be able to do something about it, the Emory alumni folks, but at least you're communicating with them and you're sharing those ideas and best practices. But there's an affinity group that I think you can learn a lot from. I also found out about Emory Connects. I don't know if you don't know about this. This is the Alumni Association site that, there you go, allows you to link your profile with your LinkedIn. And when you go to home, there's all kinds of really good information. I found out that the stuff they email out, it's almost like a private community. You can see other people that are in here. You can see the list of events that they got going on. There is on an ongoing basis on the left-hand side. There's all kind. Look at this. There's no shortage of events. God bless these people. They put on enormous amount of really cool events all over. The problem is most of us don't know about it, and I'm trying to tell you it's a missed opportunity, right? So we got to find a way to look at the startup weekend is coming up. Emory Consulting student. I mean, there's just some Chicago, Tampa. It's not just, that's the other complaint. It was Emory's in Atlanta. There's just a bunch of Emory Atlanta events. That's not true. I was going to tell you another personal note. I was in New York, and I found out that the night that I was there was an Emory event, and I literally registered, showed up. So if you kind of put this out there and kind of keep an eye on a regular basis, or look at the emails that are coming up, I think, and especially if you travel, I think it'd be a great opportunity to meet some of the other folks. So let's go back to Menti. Let's go back to Menti. I want to know, of the LinkedIn profiles that I showed you, what do you believe, and this is a little scaling scale on 0 to 5, what do you believe has the highest credibility and then relevance, right? So is visual, yeah, a little bit of credibility, and sure, it's relevant. I want to make sure we're on the same page. How about summary information? So just slide that slider over, right? So summary information, yeah, that's pretty high in credibility, and yeah, pretty high in relevance. Past professional, very credible, relevance. Skills and endorsement, yeah, high in credibility, okay, endorsement. Education, yeah, relevance, yeah. Recommendations, sure. Relevance, yep. Articles, I want to know kind of how are they talking. And then at the bottom, hit submit. And there you go. Look at that. They're starting to show up. Let's see what people think. Education is really important. Good. And then past professional experience, yeah. Credibility, high. Recommendations, good. Visual, not as much. Okay. 7 articles, updates. Okay. 4 skills and endorsement. That's kind of cool. Look at this. People say past professional experience is most kind of credible and relevance, right? So a couple more of you voting. Look at this. This is kind of cool. So a lot of votes on past professional experience, education. Yeah, that's very true. Summary information. Yeah. So a few more of you jump in. Just use the scale and click on submit. Most impactful LinkedIn profile section to you. What do you believe is most impactful Past professional experience still, yeah, that's very. 6 recommendations, yeah, I guess. So we don't want to be anybody's test pilots, right? 5 education, good. 2 summary information, yeah, that's a lot. By the way, summary information is what comes up if you look at it on your mobile device. That's the section that comes up, and most people decide to scroll down from there or not, right? Couple more seconds. If I want to make sure your vote gets counted. We're very inclusive, right? So I want to make sure your vote gets counted. If you want to jump in, couple more seconds. All right, I'll leave that in there, and let's kind of keep going. So let's talk about now optimizing your approach. So we spent some time on your window front, right? You're putting hopefully a professional, polished presence out there, and I cannot reiterate. Anytime I get a call, anytime I get an email, that's the first, before every meeting, their LinkedIn profile, and I Google their name and I see kind of where are they, and that's the first place most people are going to go to. So in a longer session and the workshops that I do, one of the exercises that we do is I ask my audience to graph their success to date. This is what mine looks like. And I have a couple questions of you. If you haven't had any failures, what lessons have you really learned? Right? Because I think you'll agree, we learn when things aren't going well. 2, how did you overcome that apparent low point? How did you overcome those struggles? Because if you can figure that out, it builds your resilience. It builds your foresight. I've seen this movie. I've seen this struggle. I know how to overcome it. By the way, what was that really important project you were working on in May of 2005? Who cares? Who were some of the relationships along the way that have shaped the person that you've become? Who's shaped your graph? More importantly, whose graph are you shaping? I'm going to go one step further. I believe, and this is part of my research for the next book, I believe there's certain individuals that dramatically change that graph, that dramatically change that curve that we're on. And as such, I'm calling them curve benders. And so this isn't about just you building this mass network of Emory alums or global network. It's about the quality of those people that are going to impact that graph, the quality of the people that are going to continue to shape you, whether you're 27 or 47. So I would submit your success isn't fueled by these buckets that we put people in, but this, and I hope, and they're very transactional, but rather this, in essence, global network, this global set of relationships that are all around us. So one of the best things you can do is, if you're in finance and that's the world that you know, I want you to get out of that cocoon. Go find people in the film industry. Go find and meet graphic designers. Go get into other places where you wouldn't go otherwise. That's the only way you're going to get a different lens as to what's really happening. And I just meet way too many people in real estate that live, breathe, eat real estate, and they don't really know a whole lot about digital or technology, or right. So go to a incubator, go to here in Atlanta, the Atlanta Tech Village has brown bag lunches on somewhat regular basis. Go there. Go spend some time with the Emory Entrepreneurs Network, even if you're not an entrepreneur, because it again provides a different lens, different perspective, different network. So if you think about it, we all have 3 types of relationships, right? Personal, friends. We go fishing, we go, we go have fun together. We go to ball games. They like us, warts and all, and they're discretionary. We pick them, but we're not sure how they may fit in our professional lives, right? Functional relationships are people that are safe, that because of the context of our work together. We get it, they get us, we work well together. Most people I meet have plenty of the first 2. They don't have enough of the last one, which are really strategic. You remember those curve benders? Those strategic relationships that elevate your thinking to a very different level. We also build relationships for 3 very specific purposes. If you think about it a second, a reason is a transaction. I work for you for, we do a project, you pay me, we're done. That's a transaction. Put several reasons together, and now you have a season. Put several seasons together, and now you have a lifetime. Again, most people I meet do the reason part really well. They may do the season part okay. They don't build, they don't really think, they don't play the long game to really build more lifetime relationships. If you're in charge of, I saw, your role, vice president and trustee, and if you're in charge of your organization or your team in some way, I would submit your culture, the people, the relationships you build and nurture is your brand. That's how people are going to think of you. That's how people are going to think of the organization or the team that you lead. It's also, I've battled this the last 20 years. It's more than a soft skill. I still see people make some really bad moves. And, just like a brand, just like repute, just like credibility, I would submit relationships also have real value, real quantifiable value. And that's what I've spent the last 20 years of my life really focusing on, writing about, talking about. It's more than a soft skill. So you want to build a global network, you need to approach people in a more systematic, disciplined way. And I asked earlier, what's holding you back? And one of the big responses was, I don't have a systematic, disciplined approach to doing this. So very quickly, and again, I've written extensively about this. I just want to plant this seed in your mind. You have to start with the end result in mind. Think about it. Relationships are not a standalone concept. They don't make sense by themselves. They're an enabler of something. So what's the end result? So for those of you who've said, I've networked before and I don't have anything to show for it, the first chapter, which I'm happy to, I'll send Sarah, I'll send you the first chapter of Relationship Economics. It's a PDF. You're welcome to share it with this audience. The entire first chapter of Relationship Economics is all about the top 10 reasons most networking doesn't work. And the cliff notes of it is, there's no purpose, there's no goal, there's no plan. PGP, there's no purpose, there's no goal, there's no plan. So have an end result, have an outcome in mind. Next, you got to think about, who do I need? I call those pivotal contacts. So if I'm trying to grow my business, if I'm trying to launch a product, if I'm trying to, find a target audience for my value add, if that's my outcome, who do I need? Relationships, you also need to hear this. Relationships are not between business cards. Relationships are not between logos. They're not between buildings. They're between individuals. So ideally, when I say pivotal contact, you're telling me I need to meet Jim Smith, who is the chief marketing officer at this company. If you don't know Jim, then describe the role. I need to meet the chief marketing officer of this kind of company for this reason, right? Next, your existing relationship bank. This is where I'm convinced garbage in, garbage stays. We collect a lot of business cards. There's no shortage of them. We meet a lot of people and we never clean it up. We never go back and do anything with it. So you got to really nurture this and care for and prune. If you've ever done any gardening, you got to prune those rose bushes if you want those beautiful roses to kind of bloom, right? So you got to prune this network. And then the whole process is predicated by you making an investment. So when you reach out, are you reaching with value add? I'm going to show you that, a couple more examples in a second. So the whole thing we call strategic relationship planning. I've also, you get a request from somebody that, I got to tell you, my first response is, I don't know you. I really don't like the person who referred you, right? And I'm being honest, right? And you're asking me to drop everything else that I'm doing to do this for you. I struggle in doing that. So I talk about your relationships. I think you would agree some have more value than others. You've known some longer. You've had more exchanges, more value added exchanges than others. So I call this the relationship value pyramid. And basically there's 4 levels. Don't get caught up on the words. Just the concept is situation of people that come and go. Investments, you've invested time and effort. You've gotten to know them better. Portfolio is your subject matter experts. Rosenzweig knows more about a particular area of international than anybody else I know, right? That's your go-to person. And then the very pinnacle of your relationships, we call 2AMs. These people are the very pinnacle of your investment of time and effort and resources, and they're really very kind of intimate relationships. You cannot ask somebody you just met for something that you would ask a 2 a.m. for. You haven't earned that right. You haven't earned that, the credibility, the repute. And by the way, don't lose sight of misalignment. Somebody could be at 2 a.m. for you, and you're a situation to them. So that should tell you that you've got some investing to do to really raise the bar on how you're perceived. So again, I read the question some of you submitted in advance. How do I do this? And I want to do it tomorrow. And I'm trying to tell you, in the matrix vernacular, there is no blue or red pill. This says if it's worth doing, it's worth investing in a disciplined way. So again, there's all kinds of articles and things I've written. Relationship economics is all about how do I map this? How do I nurture it, sustain it? How do I relate? How do I request? How do I sustain this over some period of time? Co-create more recently is all about how do I capitalize on this. Um, the reason you should care is regardless of your role, what we've seen, if you do this effectively, if you build and nurture a global network, it reduces transaction cost. So what you need to hear is there are no new challenges. There are no new problems. The only new challenges are the ones you haven't thought of. So one of the best ways to leverage your Emory network is when you're faced with a challenge or an opportunity, instead of just thinking, what should we do and how should we do it? Start asking, who do we need? Who else do we need that's seen this kind of a challenge? Who else can we find that has really taken advantage of this opportunity? Because that can reduce your transaction cost. It deepens loyalty. It deepens loyalty back to school. It deepens loyalty back to the value of the education we all paid for. Again, I don't know about you, but when I was looking at Emory, I not only looked at the professors and the subjects they were teaching, I was thinking of the network. Can I benefit from this network during and after I get the education? And I hope you did as well. So loyalty back to school for that reason. Accessing new opportunities. Again, meeting Marwa in Dubai. If you've ever done any work in the Middle East or other parts of the world, you know that it's very difficult to parachute in. Having somebody on the ground gives you a huge advantage. So this is, again, uncovering new opportunities. Last but not least, you institutionalize the relationships, not just you, but across the entire organization. So before this last section, let's go back to Menti again. I have another fun question I ask. Are you having fun? Are you having fun? Because if you're not having fun, I'm leaving. If you so jump in, let me know if you're having fun. And is this valuable to you? Are you getting good information? But are you having fun? Since I'm very shy, I'm very quiet and introverted, I want to know, are you having fun? This is awesome. People are jumping in. I love it. 100%. Yes. Yes. Keep going. I love it. Very cool. All right. So this last section, and just for a respectful of your time, you got to add value with every interaction. So if you attended the last webinar, I think I showed this as well. We all, in every industry, I've researched this, I captured this in Co-Create, we all go through this. If you think of an experience journey, we're all at the center because we're always evaluating. My car's got too many miles on it, I should buy a new car. I don't know enough about this topic, maybe I should go take an executive education course. I really want the job I want, I just got passed over for, and I need to learn a new skill or change a behavior. We're always evaluating. And we always go through this figure eight between discovering kind of what do we need, considering it, come back to evaluation, we buy, and not just product or services, but we also buy information. We buy credibility, we buy repute, we use it, we come back to evaluation. So what you should care about is what brand are you building? The reason I spend a good amount of time on your LinkedIn profile, that is an illustration of your brand. What brand are you building? What value do others perceive you can bring? And how do you fit in their daily world? So, in essence, are you creating on ramps for other people to work with you? So, I send articles, I share things. On any given day, 10 to 15 pieces of mail go out of my office. When I'm on the road, I write, look at this, I write thank you notes, personal handwritten thank you notes after initial meetings, which is an exercise I think we've gotten away from. But you want to add value with every interaction. And that's in essence where that customer experience comes from. So in thinking about both your current and aspirational efforts, what I want to know is how could others benefit from your knowledge, from your wisdom, from your relationships? This is a really good question to ask yourself. Based on where I am and where I'm trying to get to, how can others benefit from what I've done, where I've been? Who do I know? You know a lot more people than you think you do. You've done a lot more things. Even at 27, I promise you, you've done more interesting things than you can think of. So you almost have to take an inventory of, well, I've been to China. I've written several books. I belong to this association or that group, and I know these people. Could that be of value to these individuals? So once, if you think of those assets, you got to start there. And then you want to really identify their challenges. You remember playing dodgeball? When the ball was coming at you, you didn't just stay there, did you? You moved, right? You pivoted. That's exactly what you have to do in thinking about the other person. So, do I understand their competitors? Do I understand what their struggles may be? Do I understand, their customers? Do I understand what the other person might be struggling or interested in? And again, please do me and yourself a favor. Stop asking people what keeps them up at night, because my response is going to be heartburn. You got a solution for that? It's intellectually lazy. What I want you to do is do an ounce of homework, and come to the table with some hypothesis, come to the table with some perspective. John, I looked at your website, I watched this video, I read something you wrote, and it dawned on me that you're potentially missing this opportunity. Now, I could be completely wrong, but the fact that you took the time to do that level of homework says you cared enough, and you're just not coming to the table blindly. So if you do a little bit of homework, I promise you can uncover at least an educated guess of, and I go to the table with three. Hey, here's three things that I thought about in advance of our call. And it just makes you that much more intelligent, that much more engaging. The other thing is, how can they be better off because of you? I ask this question all the time, and I want you to think of stair step. Iteration is for people to do the same thing they're doing a little bit better. So can you help the other person do something better? Listen, I saw that you had this event on, and I want to introduce you to Russ, because Russ does this amazing digital whatever and could make your event better. Can you make that introduction? Innovation is doing new things. Listen, I saw you did that event, and it was kind of, I didn't see a whole lot of people there, and maybe we could do it at a different place where you could get more people there. As an example, they could do it better. Something new becomes innovation. You do enough of those, and they can uncover opportunities for disruption. So you heard I speak at a lot of events. I'm actually talking to several clients about creating an innovation summit for them. Right? Yeah, I go and speak at these events, but a lot of them are candidly boring as all get out. I'm like, oh my God. So instead of just complaining about it or not saying anything, can I help them disrupt their industry, disrupt their company, disrupt themselves by doing something very different? Again, early conversations, but those who get it will seek you out, will want to know more. And it's all about adding value on an ongoing basis, on a continuing basis. So again, let me go back to LinkedIn very quickly. I want to show you. So I'm here again. The reason I'm here several times a day is, look, Dr. Jim Kim, the president of World Bank, is in a group that I belong to. I'm constantly scanning for what's out here, right? Death of voicemail is changing the way we connect. That's kind of interesting, right? Here's Jennifer Barr, who did something, and so I'm looking for ways to. I see something, I forward it. John saw this, thought it might be of value to you. I read an article, saw this, thought it might be of value to you. Friends from one bucket of my life share things with me, position papers, an opinion, here's some research. I'm constantly thinking, who else would benefit in my network from that idea, that perspective? So I want you to always think, and this is a really good way for you to think about your global network: seekers and solvers. Who are the seekers? What are they seeking? And who are the solvers? How do I become a purveyor of value add between seekers and solvers? How do I get this CEO what he or she needs and connect them with these three people that can help solve that issue? You do that, and your value, your brand, your perception of value add, your people, I'm trying to tell you, people will return your calls a lot more promptly because they know you're adding value. It just elevates to a different level. So again, there's a lot more we can do. I want to go back to Menti, since Menti is fun. Go back to Menti one more time. Let's go back to Menti one more time. I want one takeaway from you. Go ahead and just type it in. One, and hit refresh. One takeaway from you. Just type it in real quick. Seekers and solvers. Love it. Nurture. Beautiful. One takeaway. What will you take away from this session? Jump in. LinkedIn. Yes. Spend more time there, please. Right? Nurture. Great. Engagement. Absolutely. Love it. Add value. Great. Look at that. Value is another one. Inexcusable. Yes, sorry. 2018, right? Um, Offer your hand first. Absolutely. It's a lot easy. Again, the example I used, love it, jumping in. The example I used to like to use is I don't know about your bank. My bank won't let me make $100 deposit and get $1,000 in return. Yet, how often do people come to you and ask for a favor where they haven't earned the right to do so? All the time, right? So if you start by investing, it's going to be a lot easier for you to ask for something in return. Offer your hand first. Love it. Add value to others. Beautiful. Looking into Tech Village. Good. Good, good, good. This is awesome. Keep going. Keep going. So there's other obviously webinars coming up. I think I got one more mentee. I want to do one more mentee. How would the best way, what's the best emoji to represent how you feel about this webinar, right? Not much value. I got distracted. All good. Really enjoyed it. I can put it to use. So just click on one and submit. Look at that. Yes. Yes. All good. Really enjoyed it. I can put this to use. Beautiful. Come on now. Fives, you're getting outvoted. Really enjoyed it. Very cool. Very cool. Keep going. I'll leave that up there. So that's it. Continue the conversation. Bunch of stuff on the website. I keep putting this up. If you take a second to read it, yeah, in 2018, what are you willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn? You want to build a better global network? Start with building your own brand. Start adding value. Start nurturing relationships at every chance you get. That's how you build an amazing network. There's my contact info. Thanks for having me. Sarah, back to you if you have some questions you want to answer in the last few minutes.
Yes, thank you so much, David. That was fantastic. So I will give everyone a moment to ask a question, even though I know we're at time. We do have some folks here who are thinking about a career transition. So what's your advice to those people, since we'll see more and more of them now?
Yeah, thinking of a career transition, leverage the network. That's a phenomenal opportunity. Go find people that have the job that you want, the job or in the industry that you think you want to get into, and point blank say, listen, I've been in real estate for the last 20 years. I'm bored. I'm tired. I want to do something else, and I want to learn more about healthcare. Can I buy you a cup of coffee and give us a chance to get to know each other better? I would love to ask you a handful of questions. I always believe in person if you can do it in person. If not, can I schedule a 15-minute, 30-minute call with you? Um, what I try to do is I try to get someone, that's where LinkedIn comes in. I try to get someone on LinkedIn to suggest, recommend, make that connection, not the goofy toss it over the wall, but I'll see who our connections, mutual connections may be, and I pick up the phone and call the person I know. Steve, um, again, hope all is great with you, right? I need your help. I think most people want to help you. They don't know how to help you. Steve, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile and I saw that you know Beth. Beth is in healthcare. I'm really trying to understand more about that space. Would you kindly introduce us? By the way, Steve has too much on his plate. Do not ask him to do extra work. Can I send you a quick email that you can forward to Beth and then politely or kindly copy me on it? So I try to arm my network with the ammunition to introduce me. But that's the best way. Go learn about that space. And while you're meeting with those folks, ask for advice, listen, ask for advice, thank them, send a personal handwritten note afterwards. Um, but go really dive into that space to figure out different facets of the industry that might interest and intrigue you. And then everybody I meet with, I ask, is there somebody else you know that I could talk to? Or is there a resource? Are there events you go to that you think might be useful?
Okay. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, David. I know we are at time, but this webinar was recorded, so don't worry. You can go back through all of these helpful tips. And yes, Emory Connects is here for you. We'll send out information on some of the resources that David mentioned. And do sign up for his next webinar on June 14th, Innovation, Cultural Transformation, and the Power of Co-Creation. David, do you want to take a second to say what exactly you'll be discussing in that
Yeah,
session?
yeah. So my latest book, it takes me about 4 years to research and think about and write the books that I write. That's why I do them in parallel. So the most recent one is called Co-Create. It's all about you evolving as an individual, as a team, as an organization. And I'm gonna say what my mentors have driven into me is that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So none of us have all the answers. None of us any have a crystal ball. So how can you evolve yourself, your team, your organization through a few really strategic relationships and start to think very differently about where you are and where you're trying to get to in 18 to 36 months. So come join us. And I'm gonna again, if you haven't noticed, I'm very shy. I'm very quiet. I don't have a lot of content to share. So come join us, and I want to give you more practical, pragmatic ideas to think about evolving yourself, your team, your organization.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and stay tuned, as David said, for more webinars, events, and resources. Safe travels,
Thanks,
David.
everybody. Take care.